Welcome to Native Yoga Toddcast. So happy you are here. My goal with this channel is to bring inspirational speakers to the mic in the field of yoga, massage, bodywork, and beyond. Follow us at Native Yoga and check us out at nativeyogacenter.com. All right, let's begin. Hello. Welcome to Native Yoga Toddcast. My name is Todd McLaughlin, and I love podcasting, and I'm so glad you're here. If you're a longtime listener, welcome back. If it's your first time joining, welcome to the show. Today, my special guest is Jeremy Frindel. Jeremy is the artistic director. I hope I got that professional title right, Jeremy, but you work with AyurPrana Plus.com. Please, everybody, check him out and his whole team with Dr. Lad, and he works with Sneha, who I had a chance to podcast quite a few episodes back. If you enjoy this episode, you might want to go listen to her. She's absolutely amazing as well. You can follow him on Instagram at Substratum Films. He is a filmmaker. He is a yoga teacher. He has featured. He's made a film with about Krishna Das, which we are going to air or show that film here at Native Yoga Center. If you're local somewhere here in Palm Beach County or Miami and want to come up, we're really looking forward to that event. I'll have those dates on our website, nativeyogacenter.com, at the time of the release of this podcast. I'll include that date as well in the description. That's probably enough information to kickstart this discussion. And thanks so much for joining. And I'm happy you're here. And I can't wait for you to listen to Jeremy. I really enjoyed this opportunity speaking with him. All right, let's begin. I'm delighted to have this opportunity to meet and speak with Jeremy Frindel. Jeremy, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. It's becoming springtime here, which is exciting, coming out of the winter into the light and the warmth. And that all feels particularly resonant for me this year.
Oh, man. You're in the mountains of Asheville, North Carolina. Am I correct?
Yeah. Yeah, we're up in the mountains. I live about a half an hour outside of Asheville, but our studio here is in the city.
Amazing. And I guess I have a lot of questions for you across different genres of yoga, but I'd love to start with the work that you do with AyurPrana Plus. I was introduced to you via Andrew Jones. I know that I had a chance to interview Sneha, who's someone that you work with. And so I got a chance to go to your website and learn about the work that you guys do. But can you tell me what your main role is with AyurPrana Plus?
Yeah, so I think my title is creative director, but really it was with Mitesh, and so Sneha, you interviewed, and Mitesh is her husband. So I made a film that came out in 2018 called The Doctor from India, about Dr. Vasant Lad. And in that time, just completely fell in love with Dr. Lad, and also got to know many of the people around him that were supporting him. And in 2019, my son was born. And up until that time, for the last, 15 years before that, I'd been spending half the year traveling all over the world and making films and being broke and not caring about money particularly. But then as my son was born, I said, okay, I have to figure out another way to set up my life. And I started reaching out to different people about just kind of dreaming into ways that could look. And one of the group's people I reached out to were Banyan Botanicals, and also the people who run Dr. Lad's school and Dr. Lad, because they all kind of are part of the same crew. And I just said, I'm looking to kind of shift what I'm doing into a more grounded and stable situation. If there's any way that we might be able to intersect, or the timing of me wanting to do something like that could work, let's talk.
Nice.
And so I talked to Mitesh, and we were kind of just like we hit it off. I knew him. I knew his parents much more than I knew him, ironically, because when I was making the film about Dr. Lad, his parents were helping Dr. Lad. So I became pretty close with his parents. But then I started talking to Mitesh, and we were just kind of dreaming a little bit about what we might be able to do together. And then COVID happened, very beginning when everything was shutting down. And very quickly they realized they wanted to figure out a way to get Dr. Lad to be filming Dr. Lad, since they had to shut the school down. They didn't have a lot of options in the situation. So I moved out with my wife and son to New Mexico, where they were at the time. And I didn't really know what we were going to do, and he didn't really know what we were going to do, but we both kind of liked the idea of working together, and I wanted to get out of New York, and they needed to get Dr. Lad on camera. So we just sort of set sail, and we thought, like, maybe we'll make another film, or maybe it was all very open and unknown. And very long story short, out of that collaboration and time, we started dreaming up creating our own streaming platform. So creating more kind of storytelling, creating a platform for storytelling along the lines of what we've done with The Doctor from India, what we've done with One Track Heart, but which is a film I made about Krishna Das, but in shorter form, where we were profiling more teachers and including practices and cooking. And, we kind of just were dreaming up a vision of place to bring stories like I had been telling, but that are not a clean fit in any kind of more mainstream scenario.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of financial incentive to create those kind of projects. And we just had a sense that there was a way that we could build something that there would be an appetite for and a need for, that we had a unique opportunity to try.
Nice.
We had no idea what we were getting ourselves into.
Got it.
We've spent the last few years, we built our own platform basically from scratch. So we have a development team in India that's doing all the back end, and we've been shooting and editing, I don't even know the number, but hundreds of projects. There's a very small team of us that's gone as small as me by myself to as large as, maybe 4 or 5 of us that are creating a lot of the content. But
Wow.
yeah, I'm really proud and excited a lot of what we've been able to accomplish. We've made, I think, really beautiful short films that wouldn't really have a way to exist in other ways. We've profiled a wide range of people, from Marianne Williamson, Victor Wooten, incredible bass player, this guy Joe Hollis, who's sort of a local legend. He had this project he called it a paradise garden, of trying to basically create a Garden of Eden sort of scenario where everything you need to survive, medicine, food, is all in one small amount of place, and you're basically wild foraging on your land.
Nice. Like a
Anyway, we've built a
permaculture,
whole
like a
library
permaculture
of
style farm, like permaculture style, or that's what it sounds like.
Yeah,
to me.
he's kind of his own
Yeah.
slant on it, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's similar. Yeah,
Very
he was
cool.
bringing in all of these herbs from China and Japan that nobody had ever grown in
Wow.
North America before.
Wow.
He was a very fascinating guy. So it's finding a bridge between art and storytelling and spirituality, and trying to bring stories and people to life that will be inspiring and nutritious for people that they might never have heard about, but do it in an artful and beautiful way.
Yeah.
And then you have a portal within that is designed for people to be uplifted, inspired, and hopefully within the realm of, there's this sort of way of looking at things that we're all kind of being forced into this machine of our phones, and there's all these forces working upon us to grab our attention and to monetize our attention. And I like this concept of trying to be an angel in the machine. Like, how do you release angels in the machine? We're all in the machine. We're not most of us are not about to become Amish and go off the grid and step outside of those constructs that we live in. But how do we, within that, empower people to live more in touch with nature and to release beauty and a sense of guiding people towards spirit and nourishing the sense of spirit within people. So that's really kind of a lot of the inspiration behind it. And we're just continuing to figure out how to grow it, how to make it something that is helpful for people, and then also to let people know what we're doing. So that's really our next step is just putting more energy into getting the word out. We spent the last couple of years really building and refining and growing the library and functionality. And now this year, I think we're really ready to start connecting it to people and letting people know more about what we're doing and try to storytell ourselves a little bit about, we have a pretty wide variety of projects on there, from music to cooking shows to yoga to storytelling to, all these things. So just helping people understand why it all exists in one platform and what the kind of intention is behind it so that they might be able to experience it better.
That's incredible, Jeremy. What a vision. And to put that into reality is quite the endeavor. I appreciate you laying all that out there. That's incredible. How did you first get inspired with film? What age were you when you feel like you had some inkling that this is what you wanted to do as a profession and art form?
I had just graduated college, actually. I went to college to study music and had spent most of my life playing music. I felt like when I was in high school and younger, there wasn't a sense that people could make films.
Yeah.
It just never occurred to me. And it was a very different era than it changed very fast after I graduated college, where the technology of digital cameras and editing being more accessible.
Yes.
When I was, 15, 16 years old, there wasn't a sense that you could even do that. Like I never even thought about that. There was like, it just seems so inaccessible, the idea of telling stories and filmmaking, that I didn't know anybody that did it. But then when I graduated college, I had studied film scoring. So I was studying orchestration and composition, and I planned on creating film scores. That was, I was playing in bands and doing stuff like that, but I was really inspired to operate on a little bit of a more grand scale and contribute to story in that way. And I moved to New York City and I started scoring some kind of bad independent films. And I quickly realized, like, I can make my own bad independent films. So I was sitting with these filmmakers that were just people that were, with this new technology of, these mini DV cameras and small digital cameras, telling stories and making films and kind of just going for it. And I was really excited by that. So when I had moved to the city, I had gotten a job in a jingle house. Not a job, I got an internship in a jingle house where
what is a jingle
I was painting
house?
walls. Jingle house is like making music for commercials.
Got it.
So like Twix commercials and stuff like that was what was being worked on there. And once it kind of clicked that I felt like I saw the underground of this independent film scene in New York City and got a little bit of a whiff of it, I wanted in. So I quit my job in the jingle house. And that day I had gotten a job as a boom operator on a film. And I quit. I told them I wasn't coming back to the internship. And then I went and worked all night on this film as a boom operator. I think at 4 a.m, I fell asleep and hit somebody, one of the actors, with the microphone. But I really just kind of instantly shifted gears and
that's cool.
Left the film scoring world and really just knew that I wanted to make films. So I did anything I could to get on film sets. I was first a boom operator and then recording sound and moved into post-production side of things of sound editing and film editing, and was really lucky that I was taken under the wings of guys that became good friends, but were people that had been working for a while. One of whom was a really incredible documentary filmmaker. And another were some TV producers and film producers that would just let me do things I had no business doing on their films. Like at some point, they were producing this film called Bernard and Doris. which was with Susan Sarandon and Ray Fiennes. It was a really interesting film. It was directed by Bob Balaban. But anyway, it was a big HBO film, and they were having trouble with the edit. So they just left me for 3 weeks editing the film
Ah,
to see if I could fix the story. I had no business being involved in that side of a film of that scale,
but just threw
but
you
just,
in.
they just kind of threw me in, and I
Yeah.
felt like I was a little bit, and um, yeah, it felt sort of charmed to be able to just play around with these guys, and people really gave me a chance to hone my craft a little bit and learn and make mistakes and be around people that were really, I mean, I was on set for that film for a month. Watching Ray Fiennes work was incredible.
Very cool.
So
Nice.
yeah, that was kind of how I found my way in.
Do you feel like, as a filmmaker, you're able to work with a longer form content structure as opposed to social media, one hit wonder, 30-second, 5 second, production? Do you try to avoid the short stuff? Do you like to go short and long? Do you feel that because you work long form content style that you're annoyed by the short stuff? What are your feelings there? Like to tell a story
I feel
takes
like
time, right? Like to lay out a story. And then I would imagine to try to hurry and tell a story in 5 seconds doesn't allow for that to kind of come to life. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on, and I guess I want to ask this question because a lot of us working in the yoga field, or maybe we're not working in it, but we're consumers of content in the yoga realm. I just would love to hear your insights on maybe like, do you feel like you can't really convey a lot in a short amount of time? One of the reasons I love podcasting is because I have a whole hour with you and I feel like I can just really get a lot of details, and I struggle with the 30-second stuff. It just doesn't excite me. So I just love to hear your thoughts.
that's a really interesting question. I initially rejected and resented doing shorter form stuff, especially going vertical, was something that I really resented because I feel like so much of cinema is having this wide scale and scope that you can play within. And I came of age in a time where feature films were more relevant in the world. Both of my feature films that have been released so far got theatrical distributions where they played in theaters all around the world. And something that doesn't really happen with almost any documentaries these days. It was a different time where there was a community of people and a system of theaters that there was an interest in that scale and scope of storytelling in a documentary realm. Now, mostly in movie theaters, it's pretty action, blow up, comic book kind of stuff that gets any space in whatever's left in those spaces, which isn't very much.
Mm,
So I came up at a different time,
yeah.
and I would go to the movie theaters all the time. I lived in New York City for 20 years, which has such a rich independent film scene, both new release and repertoire, where to go to the cinema and sit with a room full of strangers and have an experience together was something that happened all the time, and there was people that were doing it. So that realm was really where my inspiration and imagination lived. And it's really changed so much in a way that you never would have imagined 15 years ago would be possible. Um, so I definitely didn't have a whole lot of interest in the 1 minute storytelling version of thing. But then when we started kind of creating some of the projects for what's become AyurPrana Plus, we didn't really know what we were doing when we started. I just started making a couple of short films to play around and see. The first one was about R. Carlos Nakai, who's a Native American flute player, and
Yeah.
he's a legend,
Amazing.
and
Amazing. Yeah.
he's he's amazing. So I went out to Arizona and spent a few days with him at his
Wow.
home, and we
Wow.
walked through the desert, and we made this, I think it's like 8 or 9 minute short film on him and his work. And then in making that, I edited like a 1 minute piece from it that sort of was a trailer, but when I cut it vertically and I was watching it on my phone, and I started to realize how there is something that can be transmitted in that short time frame and even in that vertical format that, one, you're going to reach more people in this day and age because most people don't have the attention span or time or desire to spend their time watching a 80 or 90-minute film, but they're going to be on their phones all the time and flip through a 1 minute thing. And I think you really can make something beautiful and moving in that. So it became almost this format to create these little vignettes, or like a haiku or something was how I was thinking of it.
That's cool.
Which is different than like the hook, like put castor oil up your ass or for this reason, which is like you try to get people's attention at the lowest common denominator. But there's another way of using that format to make like a beautiful little moving portrait haiku kind of thing. So I've tried to find ways to use the format for that. Even that at this point, it feels like is beyond most people's attention span. And you go and you look in your Instagram analytics and you craft this beautiful, whatever, 80-second little piece. And you see that the average watch length is 8 seconds. So it's like, I don't know what to do anymore in this day and age. But I do enjoy making them. And it's such an investment of time, energy, life to create a feature-length film. I mean, I think I spent about 3 years making both The Doctor from India and One Track Heart. So that's traveling all over the world, and like every moment is really crafted, and it's a lot of life to put into something.
Yes.
And I've enjoyed the shorter form, like 10, 20-minute projects that we're doing, where maybe we'll spend a couple days with somebody, but out of that you can really create an experience of one. It's like I love meeting people and exploring their lives and having a moment of intimacy where it can really get a flavor of a different person who is living beautifully or doing something interesting. That's part of what draws me to this kind of work, is just a love of people. So to be able to experience and share a larger swath of people by the shorter length has been fulfilling for me in this time. And yeah, it's a different world. We're spending 3 years with, especially now I have a kid, like my main focus in life is my family.
Yes.
So the idea of chasing somebody around the world for years making a film it doesn't have the same priority in my life. So being able to spend a couple of days with somebody and still give a pretty rich picture of them has been fun for me and fulfilling. And the way we've set it up here is right over there is a music venue where called the AyurPrana Listening Room, where we're able to book all kinds of incredible musicians and people that come through. So oftentimes somebody will come through town, play a concert, and then we'll take time with them and interview them and film their concert and be able to do storytelling with people that are just coming, to us without us having to travel too much. And that's been a pretty amazing opportunity for us, just in terms of encountering interesting people and people that we believe in and want to share.
That's really inspiring, Jeremy. I understand that too from the perspective of being a parent. The priorities shift big time. It's cool how you've been able to transition and still use your skill and art and now be home and with your family, which I agree with you is like so precious. What was your first experience or exposure to the world of yoga? What avenue did you kind of get a glimpse into the yoga world first in?
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
I really hope that you're enjoying this episode, and I just wanted to take a moment to announce a course that I'm really excited to release. It's a free course, and it's called 8 in 8, Learn 8 Limb Yoga in 8 Days. My goal is to help coach you along in the Ashtanga yoga practice in a way where we take just the sun salutations, the fundamental asanas, and the final breathing poses, break it down with some philosophy videos as well, explaining the 8 limbs of Ashtanga yoga in a very easy to use, friendly course that is totally free. Click the link below, check it out. Let me know what you think. All right, let's get back to the episode.
So in those early days of getting into filmmaking, I somehow stumbled into creating this character that was a sort of like a fake musician character that I came up with, where I started writing all these goofy and sort of politically incorrect and inappropriate songs, and my roommate at the time was working at Columbia University, and he was doing one of the first podcasts through Columbia University. The whole technology was brand new, and he would come home and I would try to make him laugh with these songs. And he said, "You should make a podcast." I said, "What the heck?" And he started showing me what he was doing. So I created this character called Vince Diamond, that was this kind of guy in New York City that thought he was going to be the next Prince. He was going to be this famous musician, but he was writing all these songs that were really messed up. And I started sending it to filmmaker friends, some of the people that I was apprenticing with, and I just was sending it to my friends because I thought it was funny. And somehow it started getting some traction. There was very few podcasts at the time, and I ended up in the top 10 podcasts on Apple, on iTunes. So somebody was listening to this weird thing that I was doing, and then I got approached by MTV they were writing some article about this new podcast thing, and they wanted to feature Vince Diamond in it.
Oh, classic. Whoa. That's
so
cool.
Anyway, this thing just kind of started snowballing into the point where I started performing live, and this filmmaker that I was apprenticing with started making a mockumentary Borat kind of thing about Vince Diamond. And then we got that show picked up by the Independent Film Channel. We were supposed to do a big series on this. So in that time, at some point, I read an article with Rivers Cuomo, who is the guy from the band Weezer, about how he would do these 30-day silent meditation retreats.
Vipassana, right? He's a big time Vipassana.
Yeah, he would go and do these long Vipassana retreats, not just the 10-day, but he was doing like 30 days. He was serious. And I had never, I'd taken a yoga class in college. Yoga was not a thing. This was like early 2000s. So it was much more fringe and not really mainstream. So I just didn't know anything about it. Didn't know anything about meditation. I'd always had a little bit of an allure towards the mystic, through drugs and music and other things, but there was never any model or any just exposure to people in my life that were doing it in a more formal and serious and devoted way. It was a little bit, I just didn't have any exposure to it. But when something spoke to me when I heard about these retreats that he was doing, and I signed up for one.
Nice.
The Vipassana retreats, they're free. You don't have to pay for it. So it's sort of at the time, it was like, all right, this is a low commitment and it sounds amazing. So I signed up, and then I kind of forgot about it. And then this show that I was doing that was supposed to be on IFC, it got canceled like 2 weeks before we were supposed to go into production, and I was heartbroken and I couldn't get out of bed. And at some point in there, I remembered that I had signed up for this retreat, and I looked and I saw that it was a few days from now. So in like one of the most broken states of my life, I got on a bus and went up to Massachusetts to do this Vipassana retreat.
To the original center out at Shelburne, Mass?
In Shelburne Falls, yeah.
Wow. I hear it's beautiful. I hear that center is just really cool.
It was amazing. It was amazing. It looked pretty weird to me when I walked in the first day, having never done anything like that. My dad was calling me the night before, freaking out that I was joining a cult. And, They weren't going to let me talk, and they didn't want you to have a
They're
phone,
gonna
and you couldn't talk
brainwash
to
you.
anyone. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was like, "What are you doing? You're going into some cult prison." And I showed up there the first day, and Goenka is long passed away, so it's just this old man on a screen. It looked it looked very odd to me. I never experienced anything like it.
Yeah,
And I
Jeremy,
got in there
Jeremy,
and I
no, it's
thought,
so funny, not to interrupt you, but like what you're talking about with the screen. Did you ever watch that show Lost? It was, super popular, Lost, where they get in the
I
airplane.
remember, yeah, I never watched it, but I remember
There's a
it when it
couple
came
of
out.
things there where there's a guy on a screen talking about like I don't know, it's like, but I had a similar when I first saw Gwank on the screen. I thought, oh no, what have I stepped into? Like, like this is brainwashing 101 right here, like, but
Yeah.
sorry, keep going. But I can
No,
agree with you.
I had that experience. I walked in, I said, "Oh man, I probably should leave." Uh, and then the next day, I remember I slept through the morning bell, where they wake you up at 4 o'clock. They go around dinging the
Right.
bell, and I
Oh yeah.
woke up at, I don't know, 7 o'clock. The sun was up, and everyone was out of my room. I said, "Oh man, I'm screwing this whole thing up." But I ended up in that time by the third. I stayed, and a few days in, I don't know, by the seventh day, my life had completely changed. My heart had opened. I was experiencing things that I never dreamed I would experience, especially without any kind of drugs or anything. Like, it was just my whole paradigm changed. I remember it was over Thanksgiving, and I felt my love and appreciation for my parents and my family in a deeper way than I had probably ever understood. It was so real and human and deep and elevated and ecstatic, and it was so many things all at once that I it was really a turning point where everything changed for me after that. I
Wow.
didn't want to be Vince Diamond anymore. I didn't want to do these like sarcastic songs. I didn't care about being famous in the same way. I was just like, in instant, my priorities changed. My sense of what I wanted to do with my life changed. And I came out of there kind of on fire.
What did how did your
And
dad respond when he first talked to you after you left? Did he feel
they
that too?
felt me.
Yeah.
They felt me.
Yeah.
Yeah. They knew I had, they didn't question it after
That's
that.
awesome.
And my roommate, I came back, and I don't know, I think everybody felt that something profound everybody who knew me well knew that I'd been through something profound. And I think there was an energy that they trusted, that it didn't feel um, like I'd just been brainwashed by something, but
Yes. Yes.
there was like a heart element of it that I think people could feel. Um, and then after that, I had a sense that I wanted to study yoga to try to embody what I had felt. Like, I knew I was a physical person. I would run marathons and I would always exercise. So somehow I knew I needed to ground what I'd experienced into my body in a way. And I felt like the way to do that would be to study yoga. And there wasn't, at the time especially, I didn't just want to go take yoga classes. I wanted to learn about it, and I wanted to learn the tradition. And the only format for that was that I could understand or see was to do a teacher training, even though I had zero interest in teaching it. Um, so I signed up for a teacher training at Integral Yoga, which was from Swami Satchidananda's tradition. He had passed away by that point. Um, and
Did you do that
it
in
was
New Jersey with Margobandhu?
No, it was in the West Village in New York City. So it was, there's a guy named Swami Ramananda who was the head Swami of the Integral Yoga. He's in San Francisco now,
Yeah.
but I loved him. He didn't do my teacher training, but he was the head of the thing, and I ended up becoming really close with him.
Nice.
We look strangely alike. So pictures of him when he was my age, people like we kind of looked similar. We both grew up in Louisville, Kentucky. I don't know, there was some like cosmic connection that I felt between us, and he ended up inviting me in to teach with him, so we would teach poetry workshops together, and we
Cool.
had a very sweet connection. So I started doing the training there, and in that time I saw that Krishnadas, so one of the guys that was leading the training, brought a harmonium in. And as soon as I heard the sound of the harmonium, it like called to something deep in me. And I remembered that I had a Krishnadas. I had this recording of this guy that sounded like, I don't know if you remember the band Crash Test Dummies.
Yeah.
This dude had this like big
Once
deep
there
voice.
was this birl.
Somehow I'd been given a CD of a record that Rick Rubin had done, was the only thing I knew. And I just remember the guy's voice sounded like the Crash Test Dummies. But then when the guy pulled out the harmonium in the teacher training, I sort of made the connections. Oh, that's what this was. And I pulled it out and sort of discovered Krishna Das and saw that he was doing a retreat at Ananda Ashram, which is just upstate New York, like an hour or so outside the city. So I went to experience that and to just, be part of it. And it was a co-retreat between Krishna Das and Dharma Mitra. So I had no idea who Dharma was. I just knew that he was teaching the classes, the yoga classes. And as soon as I met Dharma, it was like everything I'd imagined was possible in the yoga world was there in this man. And from that point on, I still went to my teacher trainings, but I was every day at Dharma's studio at the noon class, taking class with him. And yeah, it was at that point that my parents really thought I joined a cult. It was
stepping stones from one scary to the next, like, oh no. He's going in, he's going all the way.
I started selling all my stuff.
Oh yeah.
I kind of stopped working. All I wanted to do was to be in that flow and to be studying and learning and growing and experiencing in that. And I was at Dharma's class all the time. Then for the next 3 years, I pretty soon started, I ended up taking a teacher training, and then I was teaching in the teacher trainings, and I traveled. I went to Japan with Dharma.
Cool.
To San Francisco, I was teaching. I probably taught in, 10 or 15 teacher trainings with him. That was really my world for a few years.
And being a musician, Jeremy, did you find that as soon as you started working with the harmonium and tapping into the whole bhakti and kirtan world, that was just a very natural, like almost like, well, okay, I can see how all my background has paved the way for me to now enjoy this?
Yeah. I pretty quickly bought a harmonium and started chanting, and
cool.
I was leading chanting around town for years, and it felt like a very natural progression and
Nice.
and unfolding in that way.
Nice.
Yeah, and then in that time I met Krishna Das. So I went to that retreat, I went to that retreat to meet Krishna Das and ended up kind of leaving with Dharma. And then a little while later, Krishna Das came into Dharma's studio when I was teaching in the teacher trainings and would offer a workshop in the training. And then I got to know Krishna Das. And I had really stepped away from filmmaking in that time. I went from, that was all I was doing, to I kind of just stopped because all I wanted to do was explore this kind of world of the subtle realms through yoga and meditation. And then when I met Krishna Das, I felt like he was such an incredible person and character and had such an interesting life and story that it was really then that the filmmaking and storytelling connected in with my spiritual searching and seeking. And that's actually when I met Andrew, our mutual friend who connected us here. Andrew was the only person I knew at the time that had a real job. I don't know if you know, he was an advertising executive, and he kind of came out of that world into the yoga to Dharma. But yeah, I had this sense of making a film about Krishna Das, and Andrew had a real job. So I thought maybe he would want to financially contribute, and he understood the inspiration behind it. And Andrew's answer was so incredibly beautiful. He said, it's like buying a beautiful painting, but instead of it sitting on my wall, I get to share it with the whole world. Was how he looked at investing in the film, because we knew we were never going to make any money on this thing. It was not like it never seemed likely that we were going to make money on the film, but for him, it was this way of I loved how he framed it. But then I asked Krishna, I was like, can I make a movie about you? And he said, I don't know. And he said, why don't you just come travel with me this weekend and we'll just hang out a little bit and see how it goes. And at the end of the weekend, he pulled me aside and he said, all right, here's the deal. You can make a movie about me, but all of the times I'm talking shit about people, you have to cut out. And if you have anything left at the end, you can do whatever you want with it. So yeah, then I ended up spending the next kind of 3 years traveling all over the world with him. I lived in his house for a little while.
Oh, cool, man.
Yeah, it was a whole immersion into his world and the world of Neem Karoli Baba, and Ram Dass, got to spend time with Ram Dass. And, you know, part of the thing about that crew is they were all pretty fascinating guys, from Krishna Das to Ram Dass to Larry Brilliant, who has a whole incredible story. I don't know, there was just, all of them were so unique and kind of rascally and fun and funny and profound that it wasn't just Krishna Das, it was kind of a whole world of people that unfolded to explore.
Wow. Very cool, Jeremy. Well, I love the progression, you know, one talent and then moving to something completely different, and then being able to blend those two talents together after really going through honest study and learning. I just think is so amazing. I love hearing this. And also being a parent, the fact that you are wanting to be so present and soak this time up too. So to now take on this whole new thing. So I'm so curious, like, how are you going to end up blending parenthood, film, and yoga? There's going to be something incredible. There's going to be some little catalyst somewhere. But I mean, just to highlight the fact that when we follow our passion and we follow our dreams, that, you know, there's a way to somehow do it. And it can be really scary to not know how we're going to do it. I have no idea how this finance situation is going to work, but I'm more interested in following my passion in my heart than I am to just chase money. And to get the courage and the gumption up to do that is a really interesting journey in life. So I really am enjoying hearing how you've been able to navigate that and you know, just still be excited and passionate and wanting to share all that. What is something that you did today that, if you know, how did you conduct your day today, being the artist that you are, and what's an example of how you wove or are weaving that into like your day today, apart from here we are now talking about it and podcasting, but I'm curious.
I mean, one thing that's really nice about my life is it's set up where my job that supports my family is to tell stories in these realms and capture practices and teachings in these realms. And we're trying to really craft this platform that is a thriving, sustainable home for it. Yeah. So in some ways, a version of what I was doing all these years, just kind of scrapping along with Krishna Das and with Dr. Lad, is now my job that supports my family. So I feel incredibly blessed in how that has unfolded. And that I really pitched this idea for a streaming platform to Mitesh and Sneha. And they were foolish enough to go along with it.
But how many years has that been now? Because you said since COVID. So has it been, where we're 26, so 6 years or like 5 years that you've been kind of actively working and building this?
Yeah. Well, no, because we didn't know what we were doing for a few years. We were just sort of bumbling around. I think during COVID, we spent most of our time just drinking tea with Dr. Lad, which was amazing. Dr. Lad would come over to Mitesh's house. We would film for a few hours. We would sit and talk about the world and God and philosophy. and we didn't really know what we were doing. We would just kind of have some like live stream webinar things with Dr. Lad, and we're filming other stuff that we didn't know what we were going to do with. But it wasn't until a couple years in that the idea of the platform really started to coalesce. And it was really after I made that first film with Carlos Nakai. There was a point where I knew I wanted to be telling stories again, and I wanted to kind of resume that work that I stopped after I moved and during COVID. And but then when I made the short film about Carlos Nakai, it almost became a proof of concept or blueprint for part of what we could do. And then I went, and after that, the next film was about Mirabai Starr, which, if you're familiar with her,
I am.
We made a really, I love the film. It's really,
I have not seen your
again,
film.
it's a film that would,
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry I haven't seen your film yet, but I can't wait to now. I do know who she is, but I look forward to doing some homework after our conversation and get caught up.
It's a film about when she was translating Dark Night of the Soul, the text by St. John of the Cross, like a 16th century Christian mystical text. And the day she got her first test print of the book in the mail, the UPS guy delivered the book, and 20 minutes later, the police knocked on the door to tell her that her daughter's body had been found. So the film is about this kind of crossroads of those two things happening in her life. Wow. So it's a lighthearted comedy. It's a rom-com. It's the kind of film that it's a very specific kind of storytelling in film that isn't for everybody. It's not an easy watch necessarily. But it's
deep and real.
But it's deep, and it feels like it's important. It feels important to me. Yeah. And I love going into those kind of muddier realms and going a little bit into the underworld, because I feel like that's, where we compost the suffering in our lives and can grow from.
Yes, Jeremy.
So having the opportunity to tell stories like that wouldn't have much of a home necessarily elsewhere is part of the, I guess, like maybe the gamble of what we're doing, that we can create something that will work like that. And what is the balance of things? And another big kind of inspiration underneath it is moving in, showing a connection of spirit between different cultures and different backgrounds, so that it's not just like a yoga or Eastern spirituality thing, but showing how connection to nature and spirit and beauty moves through all walks of life all around the world. And then you put them next to each other, these different stories and characters, and you create sort of like a mosaic almost, where you can start to feel the similarities and see the differences of how people worship and how people express connection to God and beauty.
Yes.
So that part of what we're doing is really inspiring to me, to really try to bring that to life.
Oh, wow. That's incredible, Jeremy. I'm so excited for you. I feel like, obviously the listener can, I have the link in the description, go to AyurPranaPlus.com and start to sample what you're talking about, which is the beauty of this realm where we can be anywhere in the world and access this, which I really appreciate too, that you made light on that, to try to be an angel in the machine. I think that's really a great way of looking at the challenge that I know sometimes a lot of us are feeling overwhelmed by technology / looking at where AI is going and all the big questions like, where is this headed? So to have the vision like what you're purporting of, let's try to do the best we can in this realm, and it's possible to do amazing work. So I think that's huge. So, I mean, I want to give you a lot of credit for I think your vision is amazing. It's cool that you're doing what you're doing.
We're trying. Yeah. There's a guy called Martin Shaw who is, he's one of my favorite sort of teachers, voices in the world right now. He's a storyteller, and he talks a lot about this concept of angels in the machine. And it's been really inspiring for me to just create a framework for, because it's complicated to, there's a little bit of a tension for me of spending so much time creating stuff for people to watch on their phone. It's a very different thing than when people would gather in a movie theater together and have a collective experience. Everything is so isolated. But that idea of trying to reach people where they are and inject beauty and meaning and inspiration and wisdom into it helps me kind of hold on to staying a part of it and to doing something good with it.
Yeah. That's an interesting thought too, in relation to where people ask the question of, is it like, I remember when after the COVID experience and then a lot of yoga classes and teacher trainings went online, and the big question was like, can you really do a teacher training online? And then the more you talk to people that are doing it, they're saying, oh yeah, you definitely can. But there was always that question about, is it almost like wrong to offer yoga on YouTube? Like I remember practicing, when YouTube came out, there was almost like you'd be selling your soul, you're selling out if you started to offer these things online. And obviously that's completely shifted. But even from the angle of what you're talking about, where if everybody would congregate together in a theater, there's almost like an accountability that happens when you're in a group that like, oh, everybody's staying, so I'm going to continue to stay, versus like if I pull my phone out and then I watch for 2 minutes, I have no accountability of anyone else knowing that I'm doing it. So to be able to capture that sense of communal accountability within an isolated environment, I can see where that challenge lays. But if we thought it was impossible to convey spiritual information through the technology of audio and video, and that's been proven, I want to say it's been proven it's possible, but I mean, maybe you would disagree with me, but I think you probably agree because you're obviously in this medium and working with it. But this ability to hold accountability even in an isolated environment, surely we can jump this gap.
I feel like to an extent it is. And there's, only so much. One way we look at what we're doing is as a way of holding inspiration between experiences. So maybe you go on a retreat, or you go on like an intensive thing, and then you come home, and how do you stay plugged in and inspired and connected? So that's part of where we imagine what we're doing fitting in, is in that gap. Not it's a replacement for going and having, collective experiences and with other human beings and in beautiful places. But it's for those moments in between where maybe you would be watching, the Bake Off chef, or, whatever people watch on other things. It's just providing an alternative that might plug you into something. And another way I think of the yoga is, to me, the ultimate is developing a home practice on your own, where you become your own teacher. Like there's a period of life where you're a student and you're learning techniques and figuring out what it is that connects you into your own energetic system and how you make use of the technology. And then there's a point where you've learned what plugs you in, and you're doing cleaning and connecting. And I feel like that is a real personal practice where you start to know your own way through your experience, and you become your own teacher. And I feel like any good teacher wants you to reach that point, and they're trying to help you get to that point, not to keep you dependent on a teacher-student relationship. And I look at the way the yoga side of what we're doing is, and how I want to really expand and develop it, is a way to support people in their home practice, to present different techniques and things for people to try and incorporate into their own practice. Not to be sitting watching a phone or a computer all the time, but that it's a way of maybe learning new things and connecting to teachers that you might not have had exposure to or awareness of. Not to be hooked into in a long-term way, staring at your phone.
Yes.
That it's just a way to learn some techniques and tools that you then go and bring into your own practice and into your own life.
Good point.
because I feel like there's, to me, the deepest practice, it's wonderful to practice in community and to come together with people, and you can have really profound collective experiences. But the things that change you are the daily, for me, in my opinion, is the daily showing up alone in quiet hours of the morning. And it's, Aurobindo, Sri Aurobindo talks about this like combination of the ascent of energy rising up and the descent of energy coming down. And the ascent happens through will, through effort, and the descent is through grace. But that ascent, that like willful aspect, it comes from discipline and from practice and showing up to make that a priority in your life. And I feel like, to me, that doesn't happen in front of a phone or a computer. It happens in your own space and way. But through those, that technology, you can find new things to try in the same way you can from books. One thing this guy Martin Shaw talks about, he says, books are your grandparents. I feel like you can code wisdom and teachings in books or in video or in storytelling, and the juice of it is what happens in those seeds when they grow in you as you step away.
Beautifully said, Jeremy. Wow, I'm so grateful that I got a chance to finally meet you. I've been hearing about you, and I really am inspired by your work. Thank you so much for sharing with us. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been fun chatting, and I was really touched when Andrew reached out and connected us. And
I'm excited. My plan is that with this podcast, then after I release it, to have the opportunity to show your Krishna Das film as like a free donation class here at our studio. So I'm excited to be able to share some of your work and your art, through bringing our community together and to watch it. So that's why I'm just really honored to have this opportunity. And my wife's family live in Tennessee, so we drive through Asheville annually. So next time I'm up there, I'm going to try to it's like an hour drive, but not long, over to Asheville, and hopefully I can coordinate to come see where you are in your space.
Oh, yeah,
and
definitely.
Actually meet you in person. That would be amazing. Yeah. I think what you're doing with the AyurPrana listening room is so cool. I really hope it'll happen when there's a music scene. I love Asheville. It's such a neat town. And so I hope and really look forward to having the chance to meet you in person. And I just want to thank you so much for taking time out of your day and from your family and to make this happen. So thank you so much, Jeremy.
Oh yeah, thank you for reaching out, and thank you for the conversation and being able to help us share a little bit about what we do and sharing the film. Where are you based? Where is the film going to be shown?
So my wife and I have a studio in Juno Beach, Florida. So we have a studio where we have a yoga studio, and it's about an hour and 15 minutes north of Miami. So we're on the East Coast in North Palm Beach County. So
so you're close to Andrew.
Yeah, Andrew teaches a class here every Wednesday now. It was so cool because him and Pam, they're so sweet, as you know.
I love them so much.
And they just, they started coming and practicing here and never said anything about what they do or anything. They were just really nice and didn't come in all like guns a-blazing, like, hey, guess what? I'm a yoga teacher. Like they were just like super humble.
But Pam was standing on one finger, right?
Yeah.
You noticed something was strange with her?
Yeah. And my wife Tamara was like, these really nice people came in the other day and they said they're going to come back. And I was like, kind of like hoping they would. And then when I got a chance to meet them, and then little by little, it's evolved to where now they teach a class every Wednesday here at 6 p.m. doing a Dharma yoga class, and slowly building the community within that realm here. And it's just been a real treat. And, they're just really sweet, amazing people. So we feel grateful, and it's like, I like it when things like this work out, like where you don't try and it just happens. Or maybe we are trying, and that's where the grace part. Thank you. I agree with that. That was a good analogy. The upward, and then and some things come from the downward, right? The descending, where somehow.
I like this idea of courting grace, that you kind of court it with your will, through the will, by like doing the work, but there's a courting of it. And then through that, grace is attracted and things move through.
Yes. Oh man. Well, thank you, Jeremy. I
Thank
look
you.
forward.
Yeah,
We
nice
got
to meet
good
you.
times,
Chat. Yeah.
good times ahead. And I wish you the best year, you and your family. Native Yoga Toddcast is produced by myself. The theme music is dreamed up by Bryce Allen. If you like this show, let me know. If there's room for improvement, I want to hear that too. We are curious to know what you think and what you want more of, what I can improve. And if you have ideas for future guests or topics, please send us your thoughts to info@Native Yoga Center. You can find us at nativeyogacenter.com. And hey, if you did like this episode, share it with your friends, rate it and review, and join us next time.
Well, yeah, now.